votes as his being anti-business or anything else is a mischaracterization. And I would say the same for those of us who vote to approve a budget. Do we like everything in a budget, or do we like everything in a resolution? There is definitely give and take on every single item. We hold our noses on some of the resolutions that come before us, but that is the nature of governance. It's not perfect. But when we took the votes on the budget itself at the table, I really don't remember people saying at the table, I can't vote this because of the library. I never heard that. Maybe I missed something, but I didn't hear that at the table. I heard, I believe we could do it a different way, but I did not hear those words. So this new revisionist history, I think, is disingenuous. I'm not surprised, because that's the kind of stuff that comes from Troy Citizens United on a frequent basis. And this latest flyer, which includes phone numbers, saying mine, I feel very sorry for Kathy Kerwin in this city, whose phone number is listed on this flyer that was sent from Janice Daniels' post office box, because if she's receiving phone calls, I'm sorry, but it's inaccurate information. I'm not surprised. There's also the mischaracterization of information on here where it says all 4 voted to file a suit against the petition gatherers. I believe the vote was 6-1. So it's kind of like a picking and choosing thing, the same kind of stuff we heard tonight. So from someone who doesn't necessarily like a debate and listens to all comments, it's a picking and choosing that smells. It's untrustworthy. It's wrong. Our citizens deserve better. And those of us who were elected and sit up here and make tough decisions as we are asked to do deserve better as well.
Okay, Council, since it's 8:56, we should take a break around 9.
Mayor, could I?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Councilman
Howard
first.
Councilman Slater?
I just want to respond to one other thing that Mr. Burke said about federal employees would not come back and work in the federal government. That is completely false. I know many federal employees that return to the government to work. I think General Eisenhower, he might have returned back to the federal government, if I'm not mistaken.
Councilman Howard?
Well, just following up on that line, I know we've read this. This will be the second time I've read it, and I know the city attorney read it too. But, and I'm referring to Chapter 10, Section 52, which is called Pension Suspended. And it reads, except as otherwise provided in this chapter, in the event a retirant or beneficiary is employed or reemployed by the city in a position which requires membership, payment of his or her pension shall be suspended during the period of his employment or reemployment. Upon termination of such employment or reemployment in a position which requires membership, his position shall be recomputed, and he shall receive the new recomputed pension, or his prior pension shall be resumed, whichever is the greater amount. And that is the section in the city's code to which I refer when I express, or did express, and if you ask me, will express, my unpleasantness with the city manager drawing a pension. I am in a minority, and I hope that you can at least appreciate my viewpoint, but if we continue to discuss it, I'm sure that Mr. Zerlag will bring up his continued point, and I'll bring up my continued point, and we'll say the same thing. But I just wanted to express it in response to a comment that was made, because that's where I'm drawing it on the City Code, Chapter 10, Section 52, and anybody can read it. It's online as well. As far as the library, subsequent to the adoption of the multi-year budget, my consternation has been, and I've expressed it and will continue to express it, is that the City Council has at pretty much every meeting the ability to devise alternatives to those plans, which were adopted to close the budget, or excuse me, to close the library in June 30th of next year. It hasn't done so. It hasn't done anything. The only plan that gained any traction was that which was presented to this council by petitioners, whether that be the Friends of the Troy Public Library and the Independent Library Board, or the petition by Mr. Kempen's group requesting that this city council continue to fund and operate a library and enshrine that in the code by the initiation of a petition for an ordinance that would say such a thing. I believe there's also another petition that's circulating with respect to a charter amendment. I still think that the city council did not use its time wisely subsequent to the adoption of the budget, but I think we are moving in the right direction, at least with our January 24th meeting that we've scheduled, and hopefully something will at least get started there. A spark will light a fire so that we can, as a council, as a unit, devise an amended budget for the next year so that we can keep the library open. But just to summarize again, I believe that this council, even with the adoption of the multi-year budget plan that included the closure of the library, could have continued those discussions so that we could have actually had a council plan to keep the library open.
I hate to elongate this discussion, but I do need to bring up one matter. Councilman Hawrylak was not present at any of the budget study sessions this year due to his impending marriage in Australia. And so therefore he was not involved in any of the give and take of our budget discussions before the approval of the budget that night. If we wanted to have any give and take on items, as we have for many, many years, he needed to be present at the budget study sessions.
Mayor?
Councilman Hawrylak?
I don't want to elongate the discussion either, but you know, the multi-year budget plan, as many of us on the table have mentioned, it's a living document. And the current budget year, which by the way includes the operation of a library, is the key front year of that multi-year budget. But the subsequent years are still open, and they actually by charter haven't essentially been adopted. And so we have the ability to do something about that. And you know, even if the vote were 5-2 with that budget, I still would have said, look, we need to do something about the library. And I did, by the way, do it on multiple occasions since the adoption of that budget in May. But we as a council have yet to do anything. And I believe that January 24th is a date we finally agreed on to talk about the multi-year budget, perhaps incorporating some of these things that have been removed from the budget. By the way, the community center, as we all know, has been suggested by staff as being one of those areas that we can continue to operate in the future.
Mayor?
Anything else?
Mayor?
Yes.
I think it's only fair.
Slater, Mr. Zerlag, and then we're going to take a break.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's fair that Mr. Zerlag gets an opportunity to respond once again to the
Mr. Zerlag?
same baloney.
I'll make the same point that I made, and Mr. Hawrylak made the same points that he has made, and that is that council hired an attorney to negotiate a contract with me. I had several options. The option that was selected by myself and all of the members at the time that were present that voted for my contract was such that I would maintain my pension for past services performed, but I would not receive any accrual of further pension benefits, nor would I receive hospitalization benefits through the general fund. And in light of that, the last manager made tens of thousands of dollars more than I made out of the general fund. And I'm sure that if you hire a competent city manager after I leave, the next manager will cost the general fund tens of thousands of dollars more than what I'm making. My salary currently is about $5,000 more than the second highest paid department head. most cities have probably between a $25,000 and $35,000 spread in and of itself just between those two positions.
Mrs. Bloom, are you signaling you want to speak?
I would, just to add that since there's an allegation that there's a violation of our ordinances, on Chapter 10, Section 52 does state that it's only if it's in a position that requires membership. And the contract with the city manager does not require membership, just as he has stated.
Mayor?
Councilman Slater? Councilman Howard?
Just to clarify, if I could ask the city attorney, how was there an allegation that the ordinance was violated?
Mrs. Bloom?
Mayor, I thought that he said that the Chapter 10, Section 52 was not being complied with. Perhaps I misunderstood the statements of Councilman Harlech.
I read that section, and you read that section a few weeks ago. That's all I did. You know, my contention is that we hired Mr. Zerleg with the modified provision that he actually is not eligible for retirement in order to comply with this. What I'm saying is that his predecessor and his successor, and by any logical explanation, anybody other than him is going to actually have a retirement. So my concern is that until he was hired, that was a retirement eligible, rehired, I should say, that was a retirement eligible position. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be having this discussion in the first place.
Okay. Council, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll come back. session. We're going to do the rest of vision and goals at the end, so hopefully we can move along here. I had a request for one more response on a public comment, and Mr. Lamorato, I'm going to call on you, and then we're going to move on.
Mayor and council, I really don't want to prolong this any longer either, but and it may or may not be petty, but I think when false accusations are made and they're directed towards an individual, then they do need a response. And I will refer to Mr. Beck making comments regarding looking at me, so I'm assuming he was referring to me, about never returning calls and never. I have not talked to Mr. Beck in over 2 years. He has never, ever called me on regarding interest rates and what we're earning on those. It's the first I heard of that tonight. So we do try to get back to all residents who do call the city, and I make a point of that, and I don't like to be called out individually at a meeting and saying I do not return phone calls and whatever else. It's totally false.
Thank you, Mr. Lamorato. We're going to move on to regular business here, and the first item is I-4, James F. Fishy and Diane Rabinski versus City of Troy.
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman Beltrame.
resolved that the City Attorney's Office is hereby directed to defend the City of Troy and the City of Troy Police Department in the Chichi Andrews Pecky v. City of Troy and City of Troy Police Department lawsuit, and is authorized to pay reasonable and necessary costs and fees in defense of the action.
Support.
Moved by Councilwoman Beltrame, seconded by Councilwoman McGinnis, that we approve the resolution as printed and read. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilman Howrlack?
I have a policy question, because this is at least the second one similar lawsuit that we've received like this, not from these people obviously, but similar in nature of circumstances. My question is, if they don't sue the city and we're in possession of their assets, I guess you would call them, how long would we normally hold them? I mean, what do we do with them? You know, let's say, for example, this lawsuit never happened. We're holding them, and then what?
Mrs. Bloom?
Mayor, I can just speak to when firearms are taken, and again, in circumstances similar to this, where the police officers were very concerned about the safety of the individuals involved and also the police officers. They did take the firearms. We do not destroy those firearms. What we are looking for essentially is someone else to make the decision that they should be returned, that it's safe to return them and that there is no danger. That is really what's being sought, but we do not destroy them. We do have a retention for all property that is seized, a retention period, and certainly we would want to make sure that adequate due process was provided.
Let's say, for example, they never file a lawsuit. Then what happens, though? I mean, we continue to hold them, or do we? I mean, how long do we hold them?
Mrs. Bloom?
I don't have the police department's retention schedule with me. I don't know if Chief Mayor has that, but I do know that we do provide adequate retention so that it is beyond any lawsuit period of time, so the statute of limitations would need to run. Also, we do provide due notice so that there is an opportunity for someone else to try and claim firearms, for example, in this case, that will provide a safer environment for them to be in.
So are you saying that when we, if the city is called to somebody's residence and we confiscate, or if you will, hold on to their weapons for safekeeping, whatever the circumstances may be, we are never going to give that back to somebody unless there's a court order?
if the circumstances were to change and it were a safe environment to return them, or there was a suitable arrangement, then yes, they would be returned.
Further discussion? The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Mayor Schilling?
Yes?
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Howrlack?
No.
Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Motion passes. I-5 is Raquel, Raquel Chidek versus City of Troy et al.
Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin.
Therefore, be it resolved that the Troy City Council hereby approves the settlement of the case, Raquel Chidiak versus City of Troy et al., Circuit Court Case Number 09-105346 NI, as recommended by City Administration and presented to the Troy City Council at the December 6, 2010 closed session, and directs the City Attorney to proceed.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilman Fleming, that we approve the resolution as printed and read. Discussion? The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Howrlack?
Yes.
Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes. Motion passes. I-6, the Clinton Oakland Evergreen Farmington Sewage Disposal System, City of Troy Inflow and Infiltration Reduction Project Contract.
Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Beltramini?
Resolved that the Troy City Council hereby approves the grant agreement and contract with the Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner for inspection, maintenance, and repair of Evergreen Farmington sewage disposal system facilities within the City of Troy at an estimated project cost of $505,000, with grant participation of $247,000, and authorizes the mayor and city clerk to execute the documents, a copy of which shall be attached to the original minutes of this meeting.
Support.
Moved by Councilwoman Beltramini, seconded by Councilwoman McGinnis, that we approve the resolution as printed and read. Discussion? The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Howrlack?
Yes.
Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Motion passes. I-7 is agreement to abide by restrictive covenants for transit center property and easement.
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman McGinnis?
be it hereby resolved that the Troy City Council hereby agrees to abide by the terms contained in the attached declaration of restrictive covenant for the city's sewer easement for the Midtown Shopping Center and also the Transit Center parcel located in the southwest corner of Coolidge and Maple, as required by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and Environment as part of the final remedial action plan, which includes the prohibition of residential uses on the Transit Center property and the city's easement, the prohibition of the use of groundwater from the Transit Center parcel and city's sewer easement, and the city's responsibility for proper disposition and management of any soil excavated by the city from the city's easement or the Transit Center parcel, and the replacement of any of the existing clay plugs if subsequently removed or disturbed on the Transit Center parcel or the city's sewer easement as described in the attached document.
Do we have a second?
Support.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman McGinnis, seconded by Councilman Slater, that we approve the resolution as printed and read. Discussion? The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember Howrlack?
Yes.
Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Motion passes. J1A is the approval of the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they want removed? Could we have a resolution approving all consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Beltramini, seconded by Councilman Howrlack, that we approve all of the consent agenda items with this vote. Discussion? The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Howrlack?
Yes.
Motion passes. We move on to memorandums. There's some upcoming public hearings, council referrals, council comments.
Madam Mayor?
Councilwoman Beltrame?
I simply want to wish everyone a happy holiday season and safe travels if you're journeying, and happy times if you're staying at home.
Thank you. On behalf of all of us, I think that's a good message. Thank you. Anyone else have any council comment names?
Madam Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
There was another question by Mr. Beck about our investments, and I know that we heard from recently at our City of Troy Retirement Systems meeting that we consistently outperform the trend, that for the last 5 years we've been beating the trend. I believe this year, Mr. Lamarato, please correct me if I'm wrong, 19% was our return just for this year. That's correct. And so in terms of return on investment, of course that's going to be smoothed for 5 years, but the rate of return and the prudency, the fact that we have been very prudent in balancing that is something that's been pointed out by those who come and overlook what we're doing. So appreciate that, and that's just good news all the way around. Very impressive work, Mr. Lamarato, from you and your team for more than a dozen years. I'm perplexed often sitting here at council table when we hear the management approach to budgeting ridiculed and belittled when these numbers speak for themselves. This is transparent. It is available on the website, a click of the finger, and I would hope that citizens would become very familiar with the numbers that we're facing and understand that we're not the only unit of government facing restricted finances.
I'd like to comment. I echo those comments, but I also would like to comment on N8, the Manager's Business Roundtable First Quarter Executive Summary. I found that very interesting and educational, and did go to the website so that I could see what was provided there that people can go to. I know that Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin commented on it before when it first went up, but I think that that is a very good tool, and I like that information. I'm sure others on council did too.
Thank you. We had our, it was our quarterly meeting, essentially, where we brought back people that we invited for the first 3 months. Had a very good showing, and we were encouraged to continue with the roundtable discussions. In January, we're going to target, at the recommendations of one of the business folks there, the Asian business owners, and try to nurture that culture to have more Asian business people come into our community. This coming Thursday and Friday, we are going to loan the Oakland County Economic Development Department our van to take some Asian investors around Oakland County per se, but we'll be promoting Troy with our van, and I'm going to be talking to those gentlemen as well. We're going to continue this on, and it's been very successful, so thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McGinnis?
I had actually printed out a copy of N8 to bring it with me so I could refer to it because it's hidden deep inside of the agenda, but it's something that I really wanted to point out. There is some wonderful information that's in this agenda item, and obviously some wonderful information that's been gleaned from these meetings. It's something that we've talked about in terms of the importance of economic development. I have a feeling we're going to continue to talk about it in our study session when we're talking about goals and objectives, and I really want to congratulate management and all the city staff that have been working really hard to kind of take this project under their wings and make some serious progress within just the last few months. And I'm looking forward to see what else can come of this in the coming year. I think that this is going to be a great tool. We've talked a little bit about restructuring our boards and committees, and while some of them may be changing the way that they look in the coming year, we've got a new board and committee type environment that's really emerging, that's providing us with some great information, and I think is going to be a very useful tool to kind of test the waters in terms of things that we want to do as a city and get some great feedback from a very important sector of our community. So I was really happy to see this report in here, and I hope that even though we haven't gone over it specifically here at the meeting, that anyone that is reviewing the agenda or has not yet reviewed it checks it out, because I think it's got some great information. I'm very happy to see it.
Thank you. And in response, just want to indicate that as senior management, we believe that economic development and organizational restructuring in tandem with sound financial management practices are the basic core competencies of economic sustainability.
Anyone else? Okay, then we'll be in recess and do our study item in the other room. discussion for our study, continuation of vision and goals. And we have the long list, which everybody gave items on, which is very good. And then some organized them in different ways, and some muted them down. And so, how do you want to go from here?
Vision, start with vision. What's the, Robin calls it preferred future, but start with the vision. And Robin has a declared vision. Mary, you have a couple. I have the one. Robin's declared vision on the RED one. Do you all have that one?
Right.
Yep.
Troy is, again, that would be the preferred future, or we would say Troy will be the most attractive and competitive place to live, work, learn, and grow business. That's one. And then, Mayor Schilling, you have two.
Well, I had the one that you had, which was to honor the legacy of the past and build on a strong, vibrant future. And the reason I put the other one, that provides fiscal stability for a sustainable community, I think that in order to honor the legacy of the past and build a strong, vibrant future, we need to provide for fiscal stability. And so I see those as tied together. That's why I just took them as they were from here instead of rewriting it. You had honor the legacy of the past and build a strong, vibrant future. And Maureen, you had yours organized in a different way. You did one like a vision. Oh, you had
They're all goals,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't,
Okay, all right.
I didn't add
Okay.
a vision statement.
Like, did you want to agree or disagree with one of the visions, or do you want to change anything around?
Maybe other folks have.
I know. Did anybody else have a vision statement they wanted to bring forward?
Well, Mayor, I like the to honor the legacy of the past and build a strong, vibrant future. I think that's a good vision.
How about you, Wade?
You know, I looked at that one as well a couple of times, but I don't want to live in the past. We do have a legacy, but we have to move forward, you know, and it's going to look different going forward than it does in the past. And to honor the legacy of the past, to me, means that you have to do certain things like you've done in the past. And I can't think about the past. I have to think moving forward. So I discount that one, and I saw a lot of people, several people utilize that, but I couldn't get too excited about the legacy of the past. You know, it's important, but what does that mean? I couldn't get my arms around what does it mean to honor the legacy of the past, and how much time do we want to spend honoring the legacy of the past as our vision for the future? I have a bit of a problem with that.
Robin, do you see your vision statement that you I have on your sheet as working with something that was put down by somebody else? And I know you're real good at words around it.
What I took, and I think that part of our job is to have a bright and inspirational vision. And when I showed this, I'll be real honest with you, when I showed this to Dick, he said, so do you want it to be perceived as the best place, or do you want it to be the best place? I said, I want it to be the best place, absolutely. And to do that, I think it takes virtually all of these other visions, goals, and tactics that have been enumerated to make that happen. But I do think that that is an all-encompassing place that we need to get to. We absolutely need to get to have a future.
But do you see the wording, build a strong, vibrant future? Is that wording fitting in with what you have?
I think a strong, vibrant future can be interpreted any number of ways by the same number of people. And I guess that's why I took my original thought of a well-balanced, rounded, sustainable community and articulated it as the place to live, work, learn, and grow a business. Because I think that kind of tells people where we want to be. But this is a group decision, but that is where that came from.
Now, our vision statement does not have to be a one-sentence statement. It can be two sentences. When you look at vision statements from other communities, are they always just a one statement?
Usually you would meet consensus. It would be a consensus statement. Again, the vision can be repeated, can be revisited every year.
Right.
At an
No,
annual.
what I mean is in the actual
Usually we
final
try to-
form, it's one sentence?
We try to capture it.
Okay, all right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Fleming, Wade?
I like what Robin put there, but I think we need to maybe build on that a bit. I said Troy will be the most attractive and competitive city and left it blank to live, work, earn, and grow business. We want to be the most competitive city in the world, most competitive city in Michigan, most competitive city in North America. I like what you said, but I thought we should define it better. Most competitive, or should we? That's a question. But I said Troy will be the most attractive and competitive city and question mark. Just a thought. Define where that city, what the parameters are. That's the boundaries.
Anybody else?
Well,
Dane?
I've had a hard time getting into this.
Thanks. So you come prepared.
No, I did 3 weeks ago. I felt pretty comfortable doing this. I don't feel so comfortable anymore, for a lot of reasons. And unless I'm the only minority here, or I'm missing something. I always thought we were the most attractive, and we were the most competitive, and we were the best place. And I think the vision is to continue. And the times are bad. Where are we going to get the money? Where are we going to get the money to have a vision to continue what we have? So, I don't know. It's just hard for me to get into this because I see all these goals, I see all these visions, and it takes money. Right now, we want to survive. We want to sustain. We want to keep what we have. I can't get into this to be better. It just doesn't make any sense to me right now. We're in a survival mode here. Where are we going to get the funds to keep us? I don't talk to anybody that doesn't have us up here, or we used to be up here. I went to the mayor's dinner last week. People feel sorry for us. We used to be looked up to. We used to be, gosh, we're going to strive to be like Troy. Our roads, our snow plowing, we were always the best. The police department, always the best. The fire department, DPW. Look at the back of the booklet that was passed out on all the awards that this city's gotten. And how can we be talking about being better than that? We should be talking about sustainability. That's my vision. When I started a year ago, my mission was to sustain and keep what we have. I'm here today 1 year later, and I'm just hoping that we can survive the next 3 years here.
So you want to keep
So,
the
I don't
word
know.
sustainable in there somewhere?
No.
He just said he's not
I'm not,
Not into it.
I'm not into
That's
this.
what he's saying.
I know.
You know,
It is just-
short-term goals,
No vision.
vision, it's just very difficult for me right now. Once after January, I'm hoping that we're going to get a better feeling about where this city is really going to go. But for me to sit here today and agree to keep us the most attractive and the most competitive and the most, I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Did I see a signal before I called on him, Maureen? Or not?
Just took my thoughts away.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It's okay.
You know, it's
You're
funny.
great.
It is kind of funny though.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay because, you know, I was, as you're saying that, I'm looking and you asked me where my vision statement was. And to be really honest, I could think in terms of concrete things that I know that we have to do. And, you know, I don't have as much experience as everyone else here at the table. But I think I know enough to know what concrete things that we have to do, you know, regardless of some of the things that have happened over the last year. But putting together where I imagine that would take us, or, you know, it's kind of hard to do that, I think, for some of the same reasons that Councilman Slater mentioned. So I struggled with actually deciding what the most important thing to put into a vision statement was, and it was easier for me to break down specifically the components of the things that I felt like we needed to do to try to get to a better place or a sustainable place. So I don't know. I mean, obviously your vision, you want it to be positive. I don't really imagine that we would put together a vision that's just kind of like, you know, hang in there, or, you know.
Yeah, and that's what the
But that's
sustainability
kind of
piece
what,
is.
it's kind of what
That's
you're
right.
thinking when you're sitting here, because
Yeah.
there are just a lot of unknowns. But I mean, obviously, Councilwoman Beltramini's vision is that's positive, and it's something to aspire to. But I think that maybe finding something in there that is just a little bit more, you know, there's some piece in there that I think includes the word sustainable would maybe make us feel a little bit more comfortable, that at least we know that that's constantly something that we have to be striving towards while we're making our decisions. You know, I think we want to absolutely shoot to be the best and continue to be the best, but I think that we need to address what we're doing now that's different than what we've been doing. You know, I think that this is something that for many years before I was on council that we've been doing and we've been striving to, but if we're going to revisit the goals to make them realistic, you know, and mirror the times that we're going through and the hard decisions that we're making, that it has to be a little bit different than what we've been doing. You know, otherwise I kind of think we're doing ourselves a disservice to even be revisiting them.
Well, the hard part in all of this is that even though council is the policy setting body, you know, that's supposed to be our main thing, that set policy, councils have traditionally had a more difficult time being policy setters than they have been in doing actual concrete things. When we get our agenda and you say, okay, I can vote for that, you know, I can vote for that. But when we come down to sit down to discuss our goal, our ideals, where we want to go, our vision, it's hard. It's hard. It's much easier to do that. It's like housework at home, you know, it's much easier to tick off the list, okay, do the dishes, you know, make the beds, do the laundry, you know. But what is your vision for your family for 10 years from now? See, that's harder work. That's harder work. So I can be comfortable with some kind of a vision as long as it has the word sustainable in there. I'm still going for the
We could do that
fiscal.
as a short term.
I know,
I can
I
understand
know.
on a short term.
You
I will
could
say
say
this, the vision should be, in real life, the vision should be something that you're reaching for. And clarifying what that vision is and the qualities of a community matter. And that's, you know, why I have mine. Many are comfortable with yours, Councilmember Beltramini, and that could be one that I could see a lot of communities having. What I'm afraid, honestly, afraid of losing, Councilmember Fleming, and unless we articulate it and really make an effort, is some of the things that built this city. And that's the legacy of the past. Those folks who worked hard to make that museum and to move those things, and who cherish that memory of Judge Barnard, and who do those, that's the legacy of people who were foresighted, of the Frankels, the Forbes, who looked up and down the corridor and thought, what if? Of the people who sat in those fields, of the people who make those roads, of those people who saw into the future and said, this is what can be. That's capturing what a true vision is. Those were the visionaries who went before. And I don't want to just come down to kind of a something, you know, here's a chamber statement, and miss something that is crucial and important to this community. Because frankly, if we don't put it down in the vision and move directly to what we're here at the table, just hang in there, we will lose all of that legacy of the past because we will never again consider budgeting for it. The vision requires a tail to it. It's like a kite. And that tail to it makes it fly and gives it height, gives it wings, that air underneath it. And I'm afraid we continue to dismiss, well, you know, that was nice then, but this isn't so nice. That's what built Troy. That's what's on the banner. That's the legacy. That's what's important to people. When people come and speak of passion and want to continue volunteering, those folks, the Nature Center, all of those things have been important parts of this community because people thought, what if? Planned for it, made it happen. And I hate to just, I just think it's important that we include that. We can't lose it.
I'm trying to figure out a way to put those things in wording together. Yes.
I think what Councilman Kerwin, Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin saying, that's part of what makes Troy attractive and an attractive place to live. That legacy, well, we have to state it as a legacy, but we want to maintain some of those things because that's part of what makes this a great place to live. And people want to live there. But for the future, if we don't grow and attract some businesses, people want to work and have a culture where we attract the businesses, we won't be able to afford those type of things.
I think we all agree with that, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
That's understood.
So
Economic development matters. Economic development matters. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I think we all get that. This is something we want to put off and then just do some goals for better.
Would it be ridiculous if,
Go ahead.
would it be ridiculous if you literally put them together by, you know, making it into something where you would say, continuing to make Troy the most attractive and competitive place to live, work, learn, and grow business by honoring the legacy of our past and working together to build a strong, vibrant future? Or is that a little too esoteric?
I didn't hear your response.
Well, you kind of put those two things together. I imagine
Right.
that it could. I mean, we could bookmark this and think about it. And then go on to other things.
We could put them both down and then maybe work on how we can put them together into one statement. Leave them both there because we see the value in both of them, and then work on the one that is down there in the other goals. That would be all right. You want to do that? And then come back to it? Okay. All right, now, we had goals, a lot of goals were suggested, and I'm not saying that they weren't all good ones, they were. But I thought that we were gonna pare down so that we could come up with, I don't know, 5 goals maybe, or whatever the number is. I don't know how the rest of you felt about that. Do you see any that are on all the lists? I think everybody had, you were gonna provide for fiscal stability for a sustainable community under a goal. Okay, and that was also in, did you have that, Robin, here?
No, I have 3 goals. Provide effective and efficient local government,
Right.
build a sense of community, and attract and maintain business investment.
Okay.
Those were 3 goals, and there were objectives under those
Right.
from the list.
Right,
And Mary had 4, Maureen had 4.
right. And Maureen, you had responsible and fiscally sound government. Provide for the safety and welfare of citizens, enhance and increase economic development, foster a sense of community. And then, Mary, you had similar things, but,
I put bring back the pride. I mean, I really actually put that as a goal. Nobody has that kind of thing as a goal. But
Right.
honest to heavens, when you mentioned, if I could,
big, go ahead.
when you mentioned going to the mayor's dinner or any place out there, when we used to go, it was Troy, cutting edge on the, setting the standard. And now it is that kind of, Troy. And I'm not comfortable with it. I don't think that the citizens are comfortable with it. And we've got to find a way through strategy, through work, to bring back the pride, both within and without. I really think that's paramount. Because if you don't bring back that pride, how are you going to do those things mentioned in that business goal? Most attractive, competitive place to live, work, learn, grow business. If you don't feel that pride and don't exude that pride, it's going to be, I think I'll choose a different community. And that's why I put it up there and put it paramount. I think that we lost it, and we have to develop a plan to bring it back.
Now, Maureen, on yours, you had the 4, and then you listed the other ones underneath. Was your intent to keep all of those underneath the 4?
No.
Or were those simply regrouping them, and then we could talk about weeding some out?
It was regrouping, and I think I probably added in a few things as well, because after I got a chance to look at it outside of the meeting setting,
Right.
in between meetings, although we didn't continue the discussion last week, I had some time in between.
Right.
There were some additional things that I came up with that we didn't toss around at the meeting. So obviously I'm not married to any of these, but I just felt like, I do better with the additional exclamation and explanation of how I foresee us reaching these goals. So that was just really my own description, and I think the 4 goals are kind of the main things that I was focusing on. Very good.
Mayor?
Yes, Robin?
It might be that as we struggle with this, maybe John has something to add to the discussion that might help us focus.
I think they were letting us, this was our thing,
Right.
Are these from the web?
Yes.
These are the same goals we have right now.
No, they are not.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to ask.
No, they are not.
So tell us about these goals, the big ones.
The big ones I took primarily from this list. And in grouping them, provide effective and efficient local government came out of demonstrating excellence in city services and good infrastructure stewardship and maintaining a fiscally sound local government. When you look at all of those things, develop and maintain efficiencies, attract and support a competitive and innovative workforce, that is all about providing an efficient and effective local government. We did have foster a sense of community on here. I would rather build because I think you end up with a more proud community if you build rather than foster. And then some of the goals off here, off the master list, that contributed to that, were combined under there. And we can build all the pride we want in our overall community, but again, economic development, as you say, matters. And so we must attract and maintain a business. And if you have 95 goals, it's real difficult to get anything done. So I looked at those things that could be tactics or objectives under those 3 major goals and would help us build that well-rounded, sustainable community. So that's where that came from. But I made marks on my list of where I had included them, and I think I left out very few.
Martin, do you remember the ones you had?
I think we all have a common theme through some of the ones that we selected, but I took mine off this list too, and the ones I selected were to maintain and improve quality infrastructure, maximize cost containment while maintaining quality of services, embrace and encourage community involvement. I actually really like that one. And then I had some others that might work too, because I think we need to have something in here about, something doing with economic development and maintaining our businesses that we have. So.
Well, we had attract and maintain business. But
yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
I like adding the word investment after it. That's what Robin did. She put attract and maintain business investment.
Martin, what was the second one? I'm sorry.
Maximize cost containment while maintaining quality of services, or something along, about, we used to have, and that one was good too, what did we used to have? Minimize cost and increase efficiency of city government. That's fine too, but I think others have similar as well. Fiscally sound, effective government. I think you had, Mayor, and
Right. Is everybody comfortable with having 4 main goals? And then we narrow it down to the ones underneath them. And then, of course, later on, it's when staff takes what we've said and then they put down objectives, right?
We can certainly do that, yes.
That's what we've done previously when we worked on this kind of thing. Initiatives. 2 years. Initiatives that, yeah, okay. All right. Are you comfortable with the wording of the 4 that Robin has put down? You want to change those to match up?
Robin has 3, that's Maureen.
Robin has 3, Maureen has 4.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
On Robin's first one here, provide effective and efficient local government, and your bullet point 5 down there, develop and maintain efficiencies with internal and external partners. Are you thinking regionalization there? That's what you didn't say, but that's really what you're thinking, regionalization? Because I think that's, to have effective and efficient local government, we're going to have to focus more on regionalization.
Well, and that's what John's been working on and getting these other communities with the fleet maintenance and the dispatch, and there's some other things that, we talked about way back.
Certainly doing the right thing.
Yeah, right.
The other thing that other communities have found is, and John, you've talked about this too, originally we were structured in silos.
Yes.
Right.
And when communities reset, they find that if everybody owns the job, you create an efficiency across departments. So that's why I worded it internal and external. And, collaboration, develop, regional, whatever you want to word in there, but that's where that came from.
Right, and these same points have been made by Michigan Municipal League people and National League of Cities, other communities that have worked on these kinds of things. And so I think that's important to have that in there. Do you see your 4 fitting into these 3, or do you want to add?
Oh, no, absolutely, I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Foster a sense of community goes with build a sense of community. Enhance and increase economic development, that is attract and maintain business investment. Providing for the safety and welfare of our citizens, that goes under the effective and efficient local government, or do you want to?
No, I would say that it absolutely does. I just tried to break it down a little bit specifically since we've had those discussions about those services specifically. So that's why I wanted to highlight that. But if it's easier to place it under effective and efficient local government. But I definitely agree that I prefer build rather than foster, because I think we have some building to do.
Yeah.
And then, the different language with the business investment, I think, would be fine as well. I'm very comfortable with that.
And Mary, how do you see yours fitting in with these? I know the wording isn't exactly the same, but I think the
goals are the same.
are
We
the same.
can break them down a little bit.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
And
Robin?
Not to interrupt, but I'm wondering if it might be cleaner to provide for safety and welfare of our citizens as a goal, just to highlight that particularly. Currently, the rolling budget is based on public service departments being highlighted, and therefore, if this is also a budget allocation document, then a 4th goal to highlight that might be appropriate.
Okay. So you're indicating the 4th, providing for safety and welfare?
Provide.
Provide.
Because the rest of them provide, build, attract.
Right.
So I did, and then massage them around so that the ones that fit under there, but.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the one that I think I mentioned at the first meeting that I wanted to have down. So I like that.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Harlech?
Provide for the welfare of our citizens. Is that really what we want to say? Because
provide for the safety and welfare.
Sure. So provide for the safety and provide for the welfare of our citizens. That's what we're saying.
I see.
So
provide a safe and livable city.
That's better.
I understand what and I would even be comfortable with
clean and livable city.
I would be fine with health and safety. I mean, honestly.
I think so too, rather than welfare. Health and safety?
I understand.
I like Dane's.
Pardon?
Pardon?
Provide a safe, clean, and livable city.
Where was that?
It's from his old list.
Right, oh.
It happened to be out there.
Oh, okay, yeah, I haven't called on you because you said you weren't into it, but anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. Dane, I wasn't leaving you out.
I don't want to act humbug, but when you talk to businesses, why are you moving to Troy? I think John could probably chirp in, but safety. Safety is probably the #1 reason why businesses are attracted to your community. I think the #1 reason that people live in the city or schools are very big, but safety is right up there. So I'm not quite sure how you do better than being #1. So you might want to just have a safe, clean, and livable city, and continue hopefully to keep what we have.
So you want to say provide for a safe, livable city?
Do we
Is
have
that what
to
you said?
provide? Do we have to provide? Can't a goal just say to be safe?
Oh, okay.
To be a safe, clean, and livable city, or something like that.
Yeah.
We were,
Provide.
no, the reason I'm asking about the word is that because each of these starts with a
Yes.
verb.
Verb.
So, an action verb, so therefore, we want all four to be in the same format. That's the only reason why.
I know, I got this maintain, you know.
I'd like
I got this
that.
maintain in my,
I know.
in my memory.
They provide.
It has a lot of
Maintain,
maintains
I
under
say.
it.
Maintain.
It's got a lot of maintains underneath it. Maintain and improve, maintain.
So you want to say maintain,
No, go provide.
provide?
If it has to be provided, I guess.
How about-
Because you have a
How
lot of
about you do?
maintains.
Pick up the SARS and see what.
Pardon?
A little bit of Maureen's, a little bit of this one.
Yeah, I asked,
You want John to jump in now?
well, I think John knows better than anybody here what attracts businesses to the city, and
I thought it was having the best city manager.
When we meet with the business individuals once a month, we target the CEOs or owners, managing partners, so that when we talk to those businesses, we're talking to their employees as well. And even though we've only had three meetings and then a recap, if you will, we've spoken to individuals that probably employ between 7,000 and 9,000 people in Troy, many of whom are residents. We don't have a specific agenda. What we do is sit down and indicate that, you know, we don't have all the answers. We want to attract new businesses and retain the current folks around the table. When they leave, we want them to tell their friends and colleagues about what a great city we are to relocate to or to stay in. And we ask what we do well and what we could do better. And according to the people that we speak to, the CEOs and so forth, we've already spoken to a lot of the big taxpayers and employers. We've spoken to Nate Forbes, managing partner of the Somerset Collection, Al Kirlick, who has Crickle Development and owns Columbia Center 1 and 2, Tom Bryce, the vice president in charge of operations at Beaumont Hospital, Arvin Meritor. And what they tell us is, as mentioned around the table, they are very impressed with the safety element of the city. Their employees feel safe coming into Troy. They're very impressed with the response they get from inspection services. They're impressed with our fire department, especially because we have a volunteer fire department. They're impressed with our infrastructure and how we maintain it. They also like the quality of life venues. The library, the museum was mentioned, the community center, because when they go to attract employees to come to this area, they mention that. In fact, a gentleman from Manhattan thought that downtown Birmingham was downtown Troy because it was his first time here and he came to the region and it was one of the banks, and I don't know if it was Fifth Third or not, but Flagstar. And he mentioned that when he was told to come to relocate in Troy, the benefits, of course, were the great school district that we have here, and he and his wife were given a tour of Troy, Somerset Collection, downtown Birmingham, and this gentleman thought that downtown Birmingham was downtown Troy, so it gave a regional bent to it. But all these things are important. Almost all of the information that you received in our compilation in the last 3 months were ideas from the private sector that we incorporated out of our office, if that helps. Our theme essentially is to create an environment of investment.
It says one of your points from N08 was attract new residents and businesses. First impressions are everything. Thus, we must work to keep the city looking maintained and presentable. And I think part of that is that safe, clean, livable city. So that's a great goal, and maybe that should even go all the way to the top, and then you have your efficient, effective government. Get it going.
One other thing that came out in the meetings that they said was maybe lacking, which we may want to look at too, is the whole communications and promoting the city and the communication part of it, where they didn't know about a lot of our community center, that it's open to their employees of their places. The whole marketing, communicating, whatever of the city, they thought could use some a little more attention maybe.
And we have to have a plan for that.
Yep.
It's just sporadic.
I just don't think goals should be numbered.
Oh.
I think they're equal.
They're equal.
And most people know that about me. I just think that they're all equal, so
Oh, I agree. I
Yeah.
just would talk about moving that up.
I don't care. I don't care what order they're in.
Because they are all,
As
they
long as
are
they're
all
not
equal.
numbered, and I also
Yeah.
think they need to be publicly displayed often.
Yeah.
I think that everything we do, when we determine what the goals are, need to meet goals. Otherwise, we're just doing what
I
we're
like
doing.
that idea that Robin said about publicly displaying them. I think when people come into the, they come into the council chamber, we have our names up there, but I think there's a place in the hall where we could hang those. I've seen them in other cities too. I'm sure you have. I think that's a good idea, to put them out there, in more than one place. I mean, not just here at City Hall, but, yeah. Do you think so? Okay. All right, where do we want to go from here? Have we got the wording on that fourth one? What do we finally end up with?
Provide a safe, clean, and livable city.
You can find a
Safe?
synonym for
Provide a
Providing-
safe, clean, and livable city.
You took out health. Okay. You comfortable with that?
Could you just say that one more time, please?
Provide
A safe
a safe, clean, livable city.
and livable city.
And livable city. Okay? How can we argue with that, huh?
There's got to be a more exciting word than provide, though. It just.
Yeah. Well, and you want your goals to have different
Okay.
verbs whenever possible.
Oh, who's got the book where we can look up the word that needs to say
Why
is
don't we
provide?
work on that later and just
Yeah.
figure out what underneath these do we want to keep and what do we want to keep?
All right. Are we adding or subtracting?
Well, we have
That's
Or
goals.
moving?
three different, or four different sets, just
Right.
trying to go back and forth.
Are we gonna try to be consistent, like you've got 5?
No.
5, do we wanna have it be balanced, or does it make any difference?
That wasn't by design.
I know,
And
but
it
I'm
wasn't
just,
added
that's why I'm
large.
just asking whether, Robin?
Well, my question is, and I guess we got this list that's pretty inclusive.
Right.
And some of them are objectives, some of them are tactics if you turn them into goals. If we have 4 goals of providing, new verb please, somebody get out your thesaurus, a safe, clean, livable city, providing an effective and efficient local government, building a sense of community, attracting and maintaining business investment. I think at this point, those of us, we tried to take all the pieces